Welcome back, dear friends, to the new episode of our Herocast. And you know that we are now addressing the very interesting topic about safeguarding from a multicultural perspective. And to do this, first of all, I have my glass of wine, of course, but much more important than that, there is our dear sister, Nancy. Please tell your surname.
Mwenechanya.
Mwenechanya, who is one of our diploma students here at the IDC. She's studying safeguarding here, but please tell us something more about you.
Okay, thank you so much for according me this rare privilege to come and speak my mind at podcast. I'm glad to be here. I come from Zambia. I've been a religious sister for 21 years now. Yes. And my life has been living in Zambia as well as Kenya. So I'm one of those who have come to appreciate the rich cultures in the two countries and be able to understand their way of life in one way or the other, especially interacting with the people, the local people, ordinary people as they are. At the moment, I'm doing safeguarding. That's a diploma. And I felt the need to do this. It all started like a joke. We were having some kind of courses on safeguarding with CRS. But I didn't know that something within started burning, that for me to be authentic and to be of importance to the people that I am with all the time, especially children, I need to know the dynamics. I need to know the aspects of safeguarding. So here I am. I'm glad to be here.
So that sounds very interesting. I have so many questions for you. So perhaps it's time to go to our student and start our conversation.
Why not?
So, shall we go?
Okay.
So, dear friend, welcome back to our studio. And as you know, today we are starting a very interesting conversation, an inspiring one with our dear sister Nancy. I'm so happy to have you here because really talking with you, although you are one of our students, I'm learning so much from you. So really, I think this is a great occasion for us to share with our viewers the very inspiring insights you can give us. But first, as you know, this is a Herocast. So we are talking about heroes, ordinary heroes, those ones we not even recognize as such in our life, in our mission, in our context. And so we always invite someone, you see, she's sitting here.
Oh, yeah.
One of the hero of the movie universe and the Marvel universe that can accompany us in our conversation. Okay, can inspire us.
All right.
And we have chosen today a quite interesting character. She is Black Panther.
Okay.
But I tell you something. The story is very complicated. We don't have the time to tell the whole story. But what touched me most is that the first Black Panther, an African one, was a man.
Yeah.
Because have you ever seen a woman who can be a superhero? That's not acceptable.
No.
This already introduces us to our conversation. So the role of women and can they be heroes? And in fact, she managed to become a hero only when her brother, the first Black Panther, dies. So this can be perhaps a first provocation for today. Do we really need men to die to get our position as women in our mission? I don't know. Perhaps we can start from that. So you come from Zambia, but
yes,
you are also
yes.
been working in Kenya.
Yes.
So how is there the situation for women?
All right. Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure, and I feel privileged to say a part of my story and my experience. Yes, we don't need someone to die. male figure so that a woman becomes a hero. No, it's not
Obviously.
supposed to be like that, because we all have the power within to speak, to say, and to provoke a nation to think in a positive direction. Yes. So I feel every person, whether woman or man, have got equal opportunities to forge ahead and to speak for many people. Yes, it is an inspiring movie, and I love the way things unfolded. Yes, it's interesting.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah,
But going back to your experience, so you're
okay.
here to study safeguarding.
Yes,
But so I guess you have faced in your own context issues, challenges, not only related to the relation between women and men, but in general, you said something that everyone has the power to speak. Perhaps I would say everyone should have the power to speak.
yes.
So, this idea of being free to express yourself, even the uncomfortable issue, is that so in the context we have been working in Africa, or did you face any challenges in this area?
Yeah. Given an opportunity being head teacher in Kenya, as well as being a head teacher in my home country, I was able to immerse myself in these two beautiful cultures in which I found myself living along, sharing with the local people, And in that, I was able to ask myself a number of questions. As Sister Nancy, you are in Kenya, and I know we have certain issues that cannot be said publicly like that. What is your stand? What forum will you use in order for you to transmit what you feel is going to be better for the people?
But what are the issues you're referring to?
We are talking about issues that make people remain silent to certain realities that they are facing, remaining silent to certain challenges, not speaking out, not given a platform to say we need a kind of life that is safe for everyone, for a child, for a young girl, or for a woman or a man, buried in an issue of you cannot talk about certain issues because you are going to betray our culture or you are going to betray our beliefs.
And
So
this certain issues you cannot talk about include perhaps also experience of violence within the family or
absolutely.
other forms of abuse, not only sexual abuse. We know there are many forms of abuse. So, and there is, from what you say, this idea that speaking out, mentioning, naming these realities that sadly happen, somehow can destroy the culture the people belong to. So there is a sort of barrier in breaking the silence as a form of respect of the culture that needs to be preserved, if I understand well.
Yes, you are correct. I'm coming from a community in which life revolves around family.
Okay.
And then in that family, we also have culture beliefs in which it's not just about mother and father and children, but it is also about related members of the family who are staying in there. So there are a number of things that you keep around the family so that others should not know. So barriers or challenges that may occur in a family, it's rare that it's actually spoken on the top of the roof. Why? It's because, and I'll give an example,
Yeah, please.
things to do with violence, it can be even domestic
Of
violence.
course.
It can be abusive kind of language. It can be sexual abuse and all kinds of abuses that can happen in a family cannot be spoken on the top because it feels like you are betraying a family.
Okay.
Yes. And again, you don't want to look shamed in the presence of people, saying, look at what has happened to that family. And at the same time, you wish to preserve one who has done harm to the fellow member of the family. And people will stand out and say, I cannot betray my own relatives,
So
which becomes a serious challenge. When issues in a family are going on relating to violence in which one feels uncomfortable or unsafe, because the home is supposed to be a safe place
Yeah, of course,
in the first place, but it becomes unsafe, then you are not doing justice for one who is a victim.
So this makes me think, for a person like you, who is so much involved in working with children, young people at schools, how could you intervene and help them if they don't even speak about that? If this doesn't come out, how is it possible to because we are talking about safeguarding, how to prevent and if needed to intervene when something occurs? How can you manage this in this silenced world?
Thank you. I have experienced a school as a second home to the first home where children come from. A home in which a child begins to build character. A child begins to say thank you. A child begins to say, I'm sorry. And again, a child begins to trust that environment, and again, to trust the teacher. And I have preserved that dignity of that environment, because in that environment, I've also seen children opening up to where they're coming from.
Okay.
Yes, able to say something, able to say, I have not had something to eat for days. Or mommy and daddy were fighting. Or they would say, I was beaten, They would come with those kind of wounds and worries to that environment. And I use that environment now as a platform in which we begin sharing. About.
It's amazing what you're telling. It's really. Can I call you Black Panther? Because you really. So it sounds like something heroic, really, as in such a context, being able to create a space of trust. I like this word, a space of trust, where children and young people begin to feel the possibility of speaking out, trusting so much the teachers that they can even break the silence they are educated to preserve. So this is really something incredible and so powerful. So my second question is, why did you need to come to Rome to study safeguarding? So because it sounds you are doing great things there without the need of coming to the Western country to learn about that. Well, why did you come?
It's imperative to learn more, because in leadership skills, it's about try and error in one way or the other. You may be doing good in one way, you are able to identify all that, but at the same time, are there certain things that you are doing which is somehow a mistake, which is supposed to be some kind of a red flag for you? And I see that very important to me as one who interacts with children. It's not a place in which you can experiment. You have to have first-hand information when it comes to safety of every young girl and boy who comes in contact with you. Our schools in Zambia, we are talking about 740 in a school, beginning from 3 years old to 12 years.
Wow.
And all eyes are looking up to you and said, Sister Nancy, we are safe in this environment. So it makes me really important and imperative to say, Nancy, you have to go and learn about aspects of safeguarding that are hidden to us, that can allow me to open and say, how much more can I do to help and safeguard and create safer places for these and those who are coming later?
Yes, that sounds great. Yeah. But I still have questions because this is really touching me. I teach also safeguarding in Rome to people coming from very different countries. And a worry that I always have is, how can I convey the knowledge I have, the expertise I have to people coming from very different cultural contexts without imposing a model a Western one, which might not be the best one for other cultures. So my question, now that you have been studying here for a while, how to manage this, how to study safeguarding in a certain context, like Rome in your case, being able to develop models, attitudes, competence that can meet the real needs of the context you will be working in, which is not Rome, it's another one. And you mentioned already something about the idea of family in the culture, that it's a value from one side but can be a barrier for disclosing for the other. So how do you manage these two elements, learning in a Western context but having to carry out your mission in Africa, in Zambia or in Kenya?
You know, Alexandra, what normally happens and what I've really appreciated is I may be outside learning in a different environment, but then every scenario, every topic, every lesson, every discussion is drawn back to where I'm coming from.
Okay.
Yes, I'm able to see what are certain elements that I am learning here that remains very vital for my people, that remains a learning point, that remains a starting point for my people. So I have realized scenarios that we have discussing in class. It draws me back to home. And it really propels me to say, Sister Nancy, you have got an opportunity in which you can say this in your own language, in your own way in which you settle issues. I once gave an example when we had discussions that normally in my culture, we have mats where we sit as women. We may be selecting beans, or we are selecting maize. And it is from that mat that we begin conversations.
Okay.
Yes. So I feel so much inspired to say, can I use that platform? What I've learned in the Western world, take it in my own contextual framework and go and sit on the mat with the ordinary women and provoke them. How do they see these issues as they live around? Is it helping? Is it of value? Will they keep on having it? Is there one way in which we have to speak about it and say, this has to come to an end in one way or the other? And keep the values that are good to us. I don't feel violence becomes part and parcel of everyone's lifestyle. It's not supposed to be like that.
Yeah.
Every woman and every child and everyone is supposed to be happy with where they are, despite the area where they are, despite the education that they have. So I always feel I need to go in my own language, in my own way, not even standing up and use a blackboard. That is the wrong way. It's going to sit down with them.
Yeah, sitting
and provoke
down with
these
them.
conversations.
Yeah. So you talk much about speaking, language, conversation. I must confess that some of the issues you mentioned are faced also in our Western world. So a certain form of silence around the family, and importance of protecting the reputation of the family leads sometimes to the fact that abuse are not disclosed. But apart from that, there are other linguistic barriers. So are there taboos about topics that cannot be mentioned in your context, which makes even more difficult to speak out when something bad occurs?
Absolutely, they are. They are. It's difficult to talk about sexuality.
That's the key
Very-
word.
Very
Really.
difficult to talk about sexuality in
Yeah.
my culture. It's difficult to talk about just the word itself, abuse.
Which is immediately related to the
it's immediate.
sexuality
Yes,
thing. Yeah.
yes. And I foresee that even when you mention something to someone like safeguarding, automatic someone will start thinking about, oh, Nancy's talking about abuse. Is talking about sexuality. It's because we've never brought this forth and let young people know that sexuality is not just one aspect that you think. It's about being you as a woman. is being standing up for someone else. So it becomes so difficult to break that barrier. But for women and for families that are integrating into different cultures, some are moving from rural areas, coming into the cities, and here there they mingle with different cultures. That is one way in which things begin to loosen up, allowing space in order to mention the thing as it is. I feel it's important and it's high time that we mention things as they are. The moment the way we are going to hide it all the time, it's not going to help. Mention it if it is an abuse. Mention to them that sexuality is this and that. Mention that growth for a woman from being a young girl, a teenager until puberty is a normal thing that she's supposed to celebrate. Yeah.
You are touching so many important. We would need to shoot podcasts for each of the topics that we are mentioning. But I now thinking of our viewers. And I know that you're asking yourself, how is it possible that a nun, a Catholic nun, is talking about sexuality? So this is amazing because we know this taboo is not only a taboo in different cultures, it's also a taboo in the church. So before getting to the point of women, which I care much, I would stay at the point that you are not only a woman, but you are a consecrated woman.
Yes.
So you work in very important missions within an ecclesiastical structure.
Yes.
Where it's not always so easy to touch these points. Are you willing to share something about this, the challenges you have faced, or even compared to what you have been studying here regarding this matter? Because this is also important. So you are talking about empowering people, because that's the word, making them able to speak out. But this is coming from someone, a sister, we normally think about as someone who is not so really empowered to do that. So now you are a hero, no doubt about that. But I guess that as our Black Panther, before becoming a hero, you had to struggle a bit. So would you like to share something?
For sure.
Okay, thank you.
Growing up in formation, sexuality used to be one of the topics, but it had limited content. And I feel the mistake sometimes that we make in formation.
What do you mean by we?
For every religious institute.
So the religious formation.
In the religious formation is, I feel personally, sometimes the mistake that we normally make is when we introduce sexuality as the topic, we just limit it to a few content. And we don't want to talk much because already you are preparing young women to say these are going to be going to live a chaste life. Yes. So talking about sexuality in its entirety is no. Let's just say, okay, sexuality, know yourself, or no, you don't get really into relationship with men, and a few other content. But the story behind sexuality is about celebrating you as a woman. Recognizing that, Lord, I thank you that you've called me to this religious life, woman as I am, with what I feel, with what I used to long for, but you have given me this grace to live and become a sister. It's quite challenging for even one brings up a topic of sexuality. People are so curious to say, what is this lecturer going to talk about in this topic? Everyone is like, what are they going to talk about in sexuality? Is it about sex? No. Is it about friendship? Is it about what? So there's always that anxiety within us. It's because we are not yet at home with it.
Okay.
Yes, we may say yes to our religious life, but we still struggle to be at home with ourselves. and be saying, thank you for who I am, thank you for my beauty, and thank you for what I'm able to do as a
As a
woman.
woman.
As a woman,
As a
yes.
woman.
Yes.
And do you think this has consequences in the relation within the Catholic system between sister, priest, authorities? How does this affect this aspect?
It to a great extent. When you hide certain relationships, and if you don't define your relationship well, you end up having wrong relationships that lead to damage to your life. And we find a number of relationship that arises in formation, even after formation, that have done a lot of damage to young sisters because of too much secrecy and hiding. I normally tell myself and tell young sisters, be mature in friendship and learn to build boundaries. Learn to respect your boundary and the boundary of others. Learn to celebrate those boundaries and say, yes, I'm able to journey in this kind of friendship, but I respect your vocation and I respect my vocation. So without that, and without having open conversations, even at tables, even as I can call it like faith sharing. Let's talk about our womanhood as sisters in terms of faith sharing. It becomes so a little bit a drawn up and hidden topic in which people begin relationships that are not healthy from outside, not seen and brought forward so that people can know that this friendship is about helping each other. So I see that's where we normally go wrong for a number of stories I have heard and I've seen in which young a sister happy about her religious life but ends up making a mistake at the end. It's either pregnancy, it's either lives a religious life and then at the end of time asks herself, I think I loved my life, but I didn't know what I was doing during my point when I was in a crisis. Because every woman can be hit can have a crisis at any point, at any time. But how will you be able to handle your crisis if forums about sexuality is not brought on the table?
So, from what I understand, from what you say, having a clear conversation and discussing openly about sexuality in religious formation and for women formation in general, I would say, because I would get to that point also, it's not only about genitality. It's talking about our affective world and taking the decision of live a chaste life, not just repressing part of yourself, but positively deciding to have affective relations in another way.
Yes.
When there is not this awareness, and when they are not even aware where the limits, the right limits are in the relations, for instance, with priests, then it creates the space for men who are in a position of power of misusing that power, leading to several forms of abuse, especially when sister can experience a difficult phase in their life or a crisis, as you mentioned, because this happens to anyone. So it's normal.
Yes. Yeah.
So this awareness, I was asking myself, because you said something that touched me deeply, being grateful for the grace of being a woman. Do you think that African women, or more specifically women in Zambia and Kenya, experience, also outside of the congregation, experience their being women as a grace?
Yeah, they do celebrate their being women, they do celebrate that to the great extent. In different ceremonies, we have traditional kind of preparation to the wedding and so on. It's just one way of acknowledging that I am just one creature who is amazing and will be able to do so much, not only for myself, but even for what I am looking forward to be in life, family life, or any other career or lifestyle that they want to take up in life. So they do celebrate that. Yes. And I see it much more even now when people are so much into a social life, they bring forth the beauty of themselves and say, this is me as a Zambian woman, and this is how I dress, this is how I appear, this is how I look like.
And is this recognized by the male side?
It can be faced with a number of anxieties here and there. Yes. And
I guess.
of course, with a number of questioning, because it's not something that was already there. It's like breaking barriers. It's a breakthrough. So it's like a man feels uncomfortable and said, why do you have to say that? Because a man is supposed to be there to speak for you. But how you are taking up,
they need to be in a higher position.
In a higher
let's
position,
say.
yes, because it has always been the man being in the higher position. But why are you taking it up? So there's always that kind of anxiety within.
Yeah, I guess. But it's interesting because you are sharing with us an image of African society, which is much more dynamic than what we, from our perspective, can imagine. So you are talking about spaces where children feel more free to speak. You are talking about the women taking more awareness about the role in the society, despite the difficulties this can create in the society, which, as many societies in the world, has always been quite patriarchal, I guess. So that's brings us to another point. So I see from what you say that some of the core values of your society can be a barrier and risk factors, let's say, for abuse. But at the same time, you already have in your own culture, in your own cultural dynamics which are taking place, resources and possible answers to safeguarding issues. So could you share something more about this? So imagine you come back to your mission. How would you put in place safeguarding procedures or events or activities respecting and according to, tailored to this reality you will be working in?
I always tell myself during the process in which we were learning safeguarding course that I will not even first of all go very far. I need what we call formation courses for our own very own sisters. They say charity begins at home, and it has to begin there. We are sisters in Zambia whose life is so much in contact with the people. We are so much into apostolate. It's not only schools, hospitals, home-based cares, and other caregiving activities. So we are ever out. But how much, if I don't give them the right information, if I don't journey with them about the new ideas about safe places, how will they be able to impact where they are going? So for me, first thing is formation in our own institute. It's every sister having an opportunity to have a bit of information concerning safeguarding and not rushing into a definition of abuse. That is a closed door. People will not understand. We begin from what are safe places? what are boundaries? What we mean when we talk about vulnerabilities, understanding those areas. What is power dynamics? How does that power affect us in our day-to-day living as religious sisters? So all those aspects need to be known and taught in a friendly and conversational way.
Okay.
Yes. I think it's high time that we have to allow people to speak. You just drop something on the table and let them speak and let them bring forth the information so that you enrich each other. And it becomes vital for us to now create chains after chain. And that becomes a proper platform for me. Yeah.
Yeah, so you are really repeating, it sounds a bit like a mantra, but a positive one,
Yeah.
this need of having spaces for speaking.
Yes.
So from that, I understand that one of the main issues is that this space does not really exist in your context.
Not so much.
Not so much. So this is, you started talking about that, about silence.
Yeah.
I can share with you that this again is not only a Zambian or African issue. It happens in Africa in different way as it happens here, of course. But this is for us who try to be safeguarding heroes. This is one of the main issues. So creating spaces for people to speak. And from what you're saying, it sounds to me, but this is something that by doing this job, I've been learning, and this is confirming me, this is really something that cannot be imposed from abroad, but it's a bottom-up approach.
Yes.
So
yes,
you need to start from them.
Yes.
It's not that it's not simply it's a matter of saying you're free to speak. If you don't create the conditions, the cultural, human conditions for them to feel that they can speak, this will not work.
Yeah. May I add something
Please.
on that? And that is where when we use the word silence, it's not just the word silence in which you close the mouth. People are looking for a space where they feel, I'm okay, I can speak, I can turn here, and I can speak my mind, I can tell my story. Those forums need to be created. It's not just about the silence of the silence, but it's much more. Yeah, convenient places for them, and a convenient place is not just a structure. It's about a person who is listening. Yes, the creation of trust that what we are sharing here is for our own build. It's for our own healing. It is for our own wake-up call, so that, again, you connect with another group that is having the same feeling, the same kind of goal. And then you begin connecting the dots here and there and there. And with that, people learn to say, we can still have a safe space, not a structure, but people who are able to listen to each other's stories, and who are able to bring out what they have gone through. We are people who are so joyful in Zambia. When you come, the first thing you encounter is Zambians are happy people, very. And it's difficult to see what is eating them behind. Extremely difficult. Because they'll give you a smile. They'll give you chicken and inshima, our main food. Mm-hmm. But it's rare that they will talk about what is hitting them behind them, what is making them sad behind them. Yes. Why? It's because they feel ashamed. And they feel, will I have someone to believe me? Mm. Yes. Will there be someone to say, I believe your story? Oh, I believe you, and I'll walk with you in this journey. They are behind, and they'll say, I don't think that is going to happen. So it's us. We're not supposed to be judgmental in our listening.
Yeah.
It's about being there and just listen to them.
Yeah.
I think that's what they want now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Thank you for this. So, what I'm learning today is that we don't need men to die to become heroine, no. But there's something that we need to overcome, and it's the fear of being who we are. And feeling free to speak it out. Despite the cultural norms that feel us obliged to correspond to a certain standard. Might be this happiness, joyful that you mentioned, might be the reputation of the family, might be the fact that I've chosen the chastity in my life, so I cannot have any issue with sexuality, and if I have it, I cannot speak about that, etc., etc. And this is a very long-term process. So thank you for what you're doing, because this is a mission that really it's so important, and it's also so important your openness to share with others, because this is something also for our viewers. And I would close with that: safeguarding is something that we cannot do alone. Safeguarding is something that we can do together. Even having a conversation among different cultures, we can learn our common challenges, we can learn how to find our own strategies, but this has to be done together. And with this word, I would greet you and thank you again for having been here with us. You know, I'm the one who has always wine on the table. So I normally do cheers at the end. You have water, okay, but right. Okay, let's do like this.
Okay, all right.
Cheers. Thank you, and as usual, please keep following us, because again, this is something that we can do together. So you can keep following our future episodes on our YouTube channel, IADC PUG, and cheers.